Welcome back to the Best Today podcast. I'm your host, Shantae Grant, and this is episode 197 and my very last time talking about this particular topic. Let's get started. Welcome to the Best Today podcast. I'm your host, Shantae Grant, creator of the Best Today Guide and owner of the Best Today brand, where we equip women with resources to help you show up as your best one today at a time. If you're ready to trade chaos, comparison, and busy for intentional living, you are in the right place. We believe that intention begins with first knowing who you are and what you want. Here on the podcast, we'll have conversations together about topics that matter to you on the journey of becoming, because we know that being your best leads to doing your best. So welcome to the podcast created to help women all across the globe proclaim, this is what my best today looks like. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Best Today podcast. I am your host, Shantae Grant, and this is episode 197. And in case you did not know, that means we only have this episode and an 8, 9, 9, 10, 3 more episodes after this until the Best Today podcast takes her final bow. And I really thought about what I wanted to share this week, and social media came up, and I said, Shantae, you have so many episodes on social media. We have them all linked for you here in the show notes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 to be exact. I'm going to share what those 10 are. Do you need one more? And I'm here to talk about social media. So I guess the answer is yes. And why is that? One is because right now we're in the middle of a social media reset here at Best Today. That is where we take 1 month and we, along with our audience, our customers, our community, take the month off of social media and just use it as information, if nothing else. Not once has someone said, I did it and I didn't learn something. I didn't take note of this or that. I didn't, there's always something to learn, which is what I love so much about it, because it's not necessarily about getting off of it just to get right back on and pick up where you left off. It's always to learn how it affects you, how you affect it, and how your life feels, maneuvers when it's absent. And there's always something there, whether you have the most intentional use or all the way down to the most haphazard, disastrous, dangerous use of social media, right? So first, I want to walk you through, or just give you reference, and they're all linked below. So you can find all of these episodes links below of the episodes we've done so far. There's been episode 30, 4 questions to ask yourself about your social media use. 68 is a social media reset right for you. Yep, let's talk about it. 69, 33 alternatives to getting on social media today. 74, 1 month off of social media. Here's one thing I learned. 82, social media update 1 month after the July reset. 121, an invitation to enjoy a social media free month. 128, my honest thoughts about social media and how I'm moving forward. 171, a pep talk when you're leaving social media, whether it's temporarily or permanently. 179, my number one takeaway from this year's social media reset. And 193, the dangers of feasting on sound bites, recent reflections on social media. Please listen to 193 if you have not already. Okay, so why one more? So I told you once, we're actively in a social media reset right now as you're listening to this episode, if you're listening in real time in December of 2024. And also, I continue to come back to talk about this because as I continue to work with, speak with, help, coach on all the different ways I interact with humans on a day-to-day basis, particularly mostly adults, 20 and up, age 21 and up, I still hear and see how social media is affecting you. But please listen to this. This is really important. Because of that, I know if it is affecting 21 plus year olds, right? It's affecting 21 downward year olds. And if we can't fix your behavior, we're not setting patterns of change for the generation that's coming behind us. We're not being a good example, and we're creating a monster that will be handed over to them. And perhaps if you can change your view and perspective, you might be able to share and impart something onto someone who's younger, which gives us some semblance of hope for the future. And so it's really, I just needed to do it again. I need to talk about it again. And this is going to be a very brief episode. I just want to invite you to think about how much time is social media stealing from you and your life. Are you noticing the ways in which it affects you? For instance, shortening your attention span. We're so addicted to seeing, a recipe that might take someone 30, 45 minutes, an hour, and we want to see it in a 30-second reel or 90-second reel or short. We then take that energy into life and want life to be hurried and fast and rushed, and nothing can keep our attention. You can't hold a conversation with a human in front of you before your mind starts wandering, before you reach for your phone. You think that life has to be or is perfectly manicured and seamless because editing allows it to seem that way on a platform, whether that's YouTube. And here's the thing, I don't even know all the platforms because, so let's be clear, YouTube, Instagram, or whatever the plethora of other things might be. And I say this every time, my intent is not to say burn it all, although I am 100% in support and will sign the paper to burn it all, right? But I understand that that might not be what our reality is or will be. And so with anything, I want to teach you, how do we have a healthy fellowship or relationship with the thing, if you choose to have one at all? And some of it is by stepping away so that you have the time to do an assessment, because it's hard to determine what something is doing to your life sometimes until you step away from the thing, right? I still see and talk with people who desire the things, the relationships of people who you don't know, desiring their home, their perceived lifestyle, anything that draws you away from the preciousness and purpose of your own breath. I want that to bring pause to your life. I'm going to say that one more time because I think it hit you and somebody missed it. So take two. Anything that draws you away from understanding and grappling with the preciousness and the purpose of your own breath is enough to give pause to figure out, how did I get here and what am I going to do about it? Because I am so fixated and thinking about someone else's life, their things, their stuff, their business, their closet, their car, their children, their spouse, their whatever, that I have completely overlooked the preciousness that is in my own being and my breath that I've been given for a question mark amount of time, and the purpose that I was given this breath for. I am so consumed. And guess what? So consumed means even if it's taking up minutes of your day, it's minutes you don't have for that. The purpose and the preciousness of your life, of who you specifically are, is so important that I'm asking you, can you give that more time and consideration than stuff on the internet? And here's the thing, if stuff on the internet isn't your thing, insert whatever it might be. Is the time you're giving to whatever that might be time that you could be giving over to things that are more important? Because I hear people all the time, every day, tell me about all the things they don't have time, quote unquote, for. But if you don't have time, quote unquote, but you also maintain an active social media use, those two things don't go together. Your life is the one that you have the most control over. And it's the one to nourish and develop and grow first, that we might then be able to help other humans in this world. And when I look at the impact that social media has had and is continuing to have, it is getting worse and worse. There is this deterioration that I talked about already before in multiple episodes, but I talked about it, I believe, in episode 193 and also on For Those on the Journey. Just an erosion of like what actually is reality, erosion of space for things that are sacred, that only belong either within ourselves in our most private and precious relationships. And it's all up for grabs for a like, an affiliate link, or a sponsor. And I want to tell you, baby, you're selling yourself way too cheap. And I don't care if you're like, oh, but I got a 6-figure check for that. Baby, you selling yourself way too cheap. And no, I'm not saying don't do your work that you enjoy doing if it involves you being on social media. But what I'm saying is, can we do it with awareness? Can we do it with intention? But for those of you, I would imagine 99.9%, if not 100% of you listening right now, that's not your reality. And there is no tangible need for you to utilize and be on social media with the extent that you have and you are. At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today.
Hey besties, this is Carlin, and I wanted to give my review of the Anytime Today journal. I want to say thank you, Shantae, for creating this journal. It's really helped with me being consistent in my journaling practice. I feel like I've always loved the idea of journaling, but nothing has ever stuck before. The prompts are really helpful, and I also want to commend you on the practice of writing to a goodbye letter to the month as well as a hello letter to the month. I know for October, when I went to sit down to write my goodbye letter, I was really focused on some recent events that had happened that had not gone well. So I was fully prepared to write a goodbye and a good written letter to October. But something said, take the time to reflect on what you wrote. And I'm so glad that I did, because there was so much goodness in there. There were so many things that I had forgotten in just those few 31 days that really changed my perspective of how October went and how it's ending, and changed my trajectory for what November will come, or what I said about my hello letter to November. So thank you for that. I really enjoy that practice every month of looking back and now reflecting also to remember those things. So while October was not without challenges, there was a lot of good to be celebrated as well. I also recently gifted an Anytime Today journal to a friend, and she just reached out and said how much that she's loving the journal already. And it's only been a few days. And also thank you for pulling all of that support content together, because in addition to gifting her the journal, I was able to send her some podcast episodes, a blog, as well as a video that you use to promote the journal, to give her that supportive information so that she's not just flying blind with using it. Of course, I told her all the great things that I've learned from being a part of your community about using the journal, but I think that it was just helpful that she was able to use that content and go through it at her own time to learn more about the program and about the use of the journal. So I find myself that I always want to have the journal with me, because I want to keep all of my thoughts in the same place that I can reflect as in that practice that I use with the hello and goodbye letter. So thank you. I'm loving the Anytime Today journal. I'm coming up on ending my first one and I have already purchased a second one, so there will be no lag time. Thanks again.
Carlin, thank you so much for that fantastic 5-star review. So many things you said that were so good that I hope you all caught up on. One of those being all of the resources we have created here at Best Days to surround you. So I just don't send you a product and say good luck, right? You have this podcast that's going to give you insights. We have the Best Today community where you can come in and ask questions 24/7. It is a constant place of support and accountability. Also a lot of exclusive things going on in there. So if you're not in the Best Today community, make sure to join us there. That's also linked here in the show notes. But thank you so much for sharing and for gifting the Anytime Today journal. It is truly one of my favorite things that I have ever created. And I just wish we could get it into the hands of more people, because I'm telling you, it's so powerful. Do not underestimate this simple practice that takes, like you said, the guesswork out of journaling and also any pressure from journaling. But you reap all of the many, many, many benefits of journaling, which I've talked about here on the podcast as well. So thank you again for being so generous with your time to share that review, to share it with friends, and then to share other resources. I am grateful for humans like you, Carlin. So I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know why I can't let this go, because I would like to. Again, I said there are 10 episodes, but something would not let me not do one more episode, because maybe it's the 11th episode, right? That someone will say, let me just look at this. Maybe let me take 31 days off completely and just see what happens. See if I realize I don't miss it. See if I realize here's what I do miss. See if I realize, whoa, I miss it, but actually look at all the space I've just opened in my brain, in my life, and my time. Let me read some books. Let me experience life without feeling like I have to capture it and share it. Maybe, just maybe, you will find that there's a life right here in front of you that you don't need a phone to experience. And that is one that's actually worth more than the time holding that device in your hand. Maybe you can stand in the line at the grocery store or at TJ Maxx, because y'all know them lines be long, and not pick up your phone and just breathe, look around. Maybe you can sit in the waiting room and read a book, have a conversation with the person next to you. It might be someone so interesting. Or it might make someone's day that you had a conversation with them. Maybe we could just try. And so that is my point today, is to ask you, can you try? Can you try going 31 days consistently? Because here's the truth of the matter. If it all went away tomorrow, your life would not be over. And chances are, if you're listening to this, you've lived life where it did not exist. It was not a thing. And guess what? You survived all of those days and probably were better for it. Present company included, right? If you're like me and you're older than Google, you don't need social media. It's great. I've met some really great people who I've taken their relationships off of social media, right? That's the whole thing. It's great to find something and then take the thing you found off, which is why I have my name up there. But what does it say? It says, let's connect off of Instagram. My company says, hey, we're not here. Here's where you can find us: in our community, in our email list, and over here on the podcast, on our website. We got places. It's just not here. And so this is my final plea on this podcast, unless you just go back and listen to the episodes on repeat. But this is the final one where I ask you, if you've never tried a social media reset for 31 days straight, do it. Can today, or maybe tomorrow, if you've already been on today, be your day one? Can tomorrow be your day one? Can today be your day one? Can you give it a try? Because I really do want to hear back from you about the experience. I will say, selfishly, I really am intrigued, because it's something new every time when I talk to a different person. But every person has said how worth it is. Now, in episode 30, I gave you 4 questions to ask about your social media use. The first question was, why am I using social media? Like, why am I using it? Work, business, personal, being very specific, right? And go back and listen to the episode. I'm not going to go into details because it's already there for you. The second question, though, was, once you decide what you're using it for, the second one is, okay, is that actually how I'm using it? I said I'm using it for this, but is that actually how I'm using it, right? Are the how and the what for use in alignment? And then the third question was, am I purposely or does this purposely further something meaningful in my life? Like, does my social media use further a meaningful purpose in my life, right? Am I carefully, intentionally curating the things that I intake? And then the last question was, is the curation that I've made here, is it a reflection of self-awareness and self-love, right? Am I curating things that are going to make me feel awful about myself and about my life? Am I creating things that are encouraging? Am I curating things that are just sound bites that make me feel like I am doing something, but in fact, I'm not? That makes me think I'm learning something, but I'm not. Because, there are books, there are conversations that I can have with real people in real life and learn more than watching a clip or reading someone's long caption. Because chances are the people who do actually have something to say on social media also have something better for you offline. Their books, their sessions, their website, their blog, their podcast, their something else, their event where you can come and be immersive and interactive with them, their products that teach you X, Y, or Z. And I've talked about all this, but I went back and I looked at those questions, and there was one question that I did not ask you to ask yourself. And so now I want to add it. This is an addendum to episode 30, which is the 4 questions to ask yourself. The 5th question, which could also be the first, is this the best use of my time? That's what's kept me from it. That's what's kept me from a lot of things, right? Is this the best use of my time? And friends, we gotta be honest. Whose answer is yes? As often as you might find yourself there. Is this the best use of my time? That I complain about not having enough, wish it would slow down. Time is flying. Time is so precious and important. It's non-renewable, and that we only get one December X 2024. And then it moves on to the next one. You can't buy some, you can't save it, you can't put it in retirement account and let it grow and then come back and then say, "Ooh, okay, I'm gonna have me a really low, I'm gonna have a 48-hour Sunday because I had some extra time banked." Nope, you only gonna get them 24 like everybody else. So is this the best use of my time? That's how I'm going to close this one out. That's a question I wanted to add to when I went back and looked over episode 30. And this is, again, my final plea, my final attempt, my final invitation. If you have not done one before, to try a social media reset. If you'd like to do a one with us, it's free. We just have you sign up, and then I'm going to be emailing you and sending you some encouragement. But you can do it on your own. You can come in the Best Today community and say, "Hey, I'm just going to start today and I want some accountability." We have an accountability thread. Come on over to the Best Today community. We got it linked right here for you. This is my final call, asking you to reconsider, to think about social media in your life. And hey, here's the thing. You can sub social media for whatever it is it might be for you. Okay? And maybe it's not that. Thank you so much for listening. As we draw to the end of the Best Today podcast, please make sure you are over subscribed to For Those on the Journey, because that's where I'm moving to. That's where I'll be. That's where I am. And the great thing is when you subscribe, I read all of my writing. So, hey, if you're like, "I'm going to miss her voice," you can get it there. You can also get it over in the Best Today community, where I am live every single week, every single month. We do our top of the month first focus, first call. We have quarterly planning sessions, workshops, exclusive resources. But that is the space where I am in, because it is one that is exclusively and intentionally created to help you live a life of health, joy, and intention. It is free of filth and wastefulness. And I would love for you to be there if you are a woman who desires to live a life of intention. That's who I created it for. And that's also who I write for over at For Those on the Journey. So you can subscribe and join the Best Today community. Either of those things, or both, will be linked right here in the show notes. And I will talk to you next week as we near the end of the Best Today podcast in episode 198. I'll see you then. Bye for now. This podcast is provided for you every week by Best Today, where we are on a mission to help you to live and work well. We do this by creating resources that bring intention to how you plan, schedule, work, and live. You can get started in one of 3 easy ways. First, by taking our product quiz at besttoday.co/quiz. 2, joining us in our online community, the Best Today community, at besttoday.co/community. Or 3, connect with us through email at besttoday.co/email, all of which are linked below in the show notes. To learn more about our company and what we do, visit besttoday.co and join thousands of customers around the world pursuing a life of intention, one today at a time.